All right, let's go ahead and get started, guys. Appreciate everyone being on here. We're going to go to Mark Long for the first question, and then we'll go to Mio O'Brien for number 2.
Hi, Dave.
Why do you always get the first question?
I don't always get the first question. But I am curious. How do you feel about your roster, which is obviously going to be one of the youngest in the league to start off?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is going to be a young team. We currently have 16 rookies on the roster, but we feel good about it. And, Coach Marone and coaching staff did a hell of a job with the 90 players. I want to thank all the players that came through here when we started with 90, then down to 80, and then here we are at 53. And, our only message was that let's keep the 53 guys that deserve to be on this team. And, Shad gave us a directive to put the best team out there. And we feel like we did that with the players that we have. So we had to do two things in this season and put the best team out there, A, and B, get our salary cap under control. And those are two tough things to do initially at the same time, but we feel like we did a pretty good job. And we'll just see where we stand. We open up against the Colts, who by all accounts are one of the favorites to maybe win the Super Bowl. They're a very talented team. They've done a nice job in acquiring talent there. And then we follow up with the Titans. So before we decide where we are or where we stand, let us play some games, and let's see where we are and let's see how these young guys are. And I know the 53 players in this locker room are excited to be here and are excited for their ability to go out there and put a good brand of football out there.
And then I think the big takeaway is you're going with a 6th-round pick for the backup quarterback for the second straight year. Did Minshew's success maybe give you a little more ease in doing that?
Not necessarily. I think each guy's individually different. And to be honest with you, both their skill sets are a little bit different. But and I know Coach Gruden's talked about it. Coach McAdoo's talked about it. Jake has been very impressive. And he's, for a rookie quarterback, and you guys have all been out there and watching him throw and watching him practice. And he actually made the decision relatively easy for us.
Thank you, Mark. Let's go over to Mia and then Gene Fournette.
Hey, Dave, as far as the wide receivers go, you go with 6 once again. I'm just curious what came down to the final decision. I know, obviously, Terry Godwin was someone a lot of people have been talking about all camp.
Sure. Well, somewhere between 5 and 7 are what teams generally keep. And we feel like that's actually a strength of our team, Mia. And we feel like, those guys, all 6 of those guys are very talented. 4 of them have played in NFL games, and then we got the 2 rookies who as you guys have seen with LaVisca and Colin have had really good camps. So we like the skill sets. All those guys are interchangeable, and that gives us great depth through the season to play with 6 guys.
And obviously, I know you guys made several moves earlier in the week. Do you anticipate any other moves at this time, whether that be trade or something else?
The only move that we'll definitely anticipate is we'll probably put Quincy Williams on IR once he clears a 53-man, and then that will give us the opportunity to get him healthy in the first couple of weeks of the season, and then bring him back at some point in time. That will open up a roster spot, and we're looking at a lot of different avenues on we got the waiver wire tonight. If we want to claim somebody, if we want to sign a veteran, we can do that. Or bring somebody back. So we're working through that, and we'll have probably one roster spot to work with.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Mia. Let's go Gene and then D-Rock.
Hey, Dave. You said that the message from these cuts was putting the best 53 on the roster. Earlier this week, you released Leonard Fournette. Could you talk a little bit about the curious timing of this move? I mean, Doug said that this was only about football. Why was this move not done before camp? Did Jay Gruden want to actually see him on the field? What was the reasoning for the timing of when you released Leonard and why you did?
Sure. Well, when we put the 80-man roster, we put the best 80 guys we felt, and then we didn't know about James Robinson and Coach Gruden didn't know a whole lot about Divine Ozigbo. And to be honest with you, I didn't know a whole lot about Chris Thompson outside of what I've seen of him in college and what he's done in Washington. But when you get those three guys in camp and you see what they can do, it was more about the guys that we kept versus anything else. And Leonard's done a lot of great things for this team and this organization, and we felt like to give him the best opportunity to land somewhere and not get caught up in the other transactions that are happening this week, where he'd have first shot and decide where he wanted to go. We felt like it was the best thing for him and the best thing for the team.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gene. Let's go over to D-Rock, and then we'll go to John Reed.
Hey, Dave, if there's a position where you can get guys like Robinson and Ozigbo, guys that have very little experience, come in and make an impact right away, is it at running back? I mean, is that one of the easier positions for that to happen?
Not necessarily. I mean, you look at probably the top rushers in the league last year. I think majority of them were relatively high draft picks. So that's not necessarily the case. But you can find guys, but you can do it at every position. We've had guys like Keelan Cole that were undrafted free agents, and Alan Hearns that have come back, and Trey Herndon, an undrafted guy, and come in and make impacts and start too. So I think you could do it at all positions. I think we're fortunate with the guys that we have, and Divine had a really good preseason last year. When you go back to watch him at the Saints, is why we claimed him. Leonard was healthy for most of last year. That's why he didn't get a whole lot of action, and plus we had Rock, and then James has been really just a pleasant surprise, and we liked him at the East-West game, and we were fortunate to kind of luck into him at the end of the draft.
Just real quick on Ngakwe, you guys had been talking for a little bit. Did you think you were going to be able to repair that relationship to the point where he might change his mind and want to be here?
I did not know. And, we've always had a very good relationship, he and I. Although, obviously when the business part of it gets messy, it's a challenge. I have a ton of respect for him and his principles as a person, and a ton of respect for him as a player. And like I've said many a times, he's done everything we asked him to do. And he deserved the opportunity to be a free agent, and we franchised him, and we exercised our rights to franchise him and get value for him. And our number one goal would have been to have him play for us. That was not feasible at the time, and then we were able to draft K'Lavon Chaisson, who we feel really good about, and kind of be his replacement. And between K'Lavon and Josh, and then to be able to get value for Jan, get out of the almost $18 million and get a valued pick in the second round, and possibly as high as a third round the following year was something that, for a guy on a franchise tag or a 1-year trade guy that you can't redo his deal, making that type of money to get that type of value at this time, we felt was good value.
Thanks.
Thanks, D-Rock. We'll go over to John Reed and then to John Shipley.
Mr. Reed.
How you doing, Dave?
Great. How are you?
Just ask you a question about the practice squad, and that you could put veterans on there, like 6 spots for best veterans with 3 or 4 years experience. Did that play any role that you got that type of flexibility when you narrowing down this roster, and you got so many young guys that you kept? Did that have any input?
Well, we'll definitely try to use that rule to our advantage. And I think the idea of putting veterans in there, I've always felt like, and talking to some veterans that have been kind of going from team to team, is a lot of them at times when you cut them wish they could have been on the practice squad and continue to develop with the team they're at. So I think it's a great rule this year. I kind of hope that we keep it that way. But to be able to give guys and add some depth there and some veteran leadership, even if it's a practice squad guy and guys that have been around, I think is great, because it's a lot easier to activate a guy from your practice squad on a game week than to have to fly somebody in, sign them on a Tuesday, get them acclimated and practice. So our number one goal is when we activate guys and we have a need is to get them from the practice squad. And if that's a veteran guy, even better.
One quick follow. What did Luke Barco show you as an undrafted guy to come in there and make plays, obviously, but what impressed you when you saw him out there on the field?
Well, he's a smart player. He has very good length. He's still learning the position, but we feel like that he's got a lot to develop with his length, his size, his speed, his athleticism, and he made some plays on the ball. So we were excited from what we saw. We wish we were able to see some of those guys in some game type of situation to deal with some adversity. But if he has to play for us, his first action is going to be on the live stage against NFL talent.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Let's go over to John Shipley, and then we'll follow up with Jamal.
John Shipley.
Mr.
I don't see
Shipley.
John Shipley.
All right, let's go to Jamal, and we can work John back into the rotation. Go ahead, Jamal.
I think John's still in the lobby. Nobody puts John in the lobby. Hey, Jamal.
How's it going, Dave?
Good, you?
Since the Fournette release, there's been a lot of talk around this team as far as from other people about the team possibly tanking this year. I know, obviously, we've asked Coach Marone, we've asked Gardner Minshew about it. What are your thoughts? Do you feel like you've put together the best roster possible to win this season?
We do, and like I said before, let us play the season, and don't count these players out. And I love this team. I love the energy this team brings. I love some of the veteran leadership we brought in with Joe Schobert, Tyler Eifert. We're not that young on offense. You got a guy like Chris Conley. The offensive line has all played a lot of games together. Keelan Cole, D.D. Westbrook. We have guys there, DJ Chark. So don't count this team out yet. And I think they'll tell you the same thing. We can't afford a rebuilding year, and that's not our mindset. Our mindset is to put the best team out there to play, to compete, and to win. And we feel like these guys, the guys in this locker room, nobody has seen them play together. Nobody has seen them play a game. So, like I said, we're going to know where we measure up. We played a very talented Indianapolis Colts on week 1, and then we follow up with a Final Four team with the Tennessee Titans. So we'll know pretty quick where we measure up with some of the top teams in the league.
One quick other question. Last year, you were able to find a guy like Devine Ozigbo off of waivers after he had that big preseason with the Saints. With
Sure.
no preseason games, does it make it harder for you guys to be able to evaluate some of those cuts from other teams this year?
Yeah, it's more challenging. Obviously, the guys that have play history in the NFL, it's easier. We're doing that right now. We're going through some of these cuts and looking at, and we've been doing it for like the last 10 days. Our pro department's been locked in the draft room and just going with looking at guys that played last year at playtime that are on the bubble. So we're prepared and we're ranking them. We're setting kind of like a pro draft board up and just going through them. And guys that are on the bubble that were in college that we have good, college grades on, we're going back and revisiting those guys too. So, would prefer to see them in the preseason so we know exactly what we're getting if we make a claim, but that's not possible. So we'll make our best decisions based off the information we have. Good
Thanks,
question.
Dave.
No problem.
Thanks, Jamal. Let's go over to Hayes and then Demetrius.
Yeah, Dave.
This is positive. Where is he?
I'm ready for some massive positivity here.
Awesome. Well, we kept your guy, Jake Luton. I know you loved him. So
I love Luton. That was an outstanding pick, and you've developed him magnificently.
Right.
I'm curious about the safety. Can you walk us through the Harrison trade and what you like out of your safety group?
Sure. And that's very similar to more so about the guys that we have. And there was a 3-way battle for that strong safety spot and between Josh Jones, Daniel Thomas, and Ronnie. And all three of the guys were really neck and neck, to be honest with you. And Josh has had a tremendous camp. He's a guy that can play both in the back end and play up close to the box. He's big. He's got very good play speed, and he's long, like Ronnie is, and he can cover, half the field. So we felt really good about him. A smart guy, really good communicator. And then Daniel Thomas, our 5th-round pick out of Auburn, was having a tremendous camp, tweaked his hamstring, missed a couple of days, but is back full strength. So we were only able to keep 2 of the 3. And I got a call on Ronnie, and I was able to get value for the guy that may have been possibly the odd man out because the other guys, Andrew Wingard and Brandon Watson, are our special teams guys, and they've really played a free safety. So it was really more about the guys we have and getting value for Ronnie and putting him in a position where he can go and compete for a starting job.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Hayes. Let's go over to Demetrius.
Hey, Dave. I hope you're doing well. You're only keeping 3 tight ends on the initial roster. Was that a plan? Do you guys feel comfortable with going with only 3 tight ends, especially given the injury history of a couple of those guys?
Sure, we do. And, there'll be opportunity for maybe a guy like Matt Flanagan on the practice squad. And we'll look to maybe put somebody on the practice squad. But we also kept the fullback this year, which we haven't done in the past with Bruce Miller. So you try to keep 4 between those 2 positions, your tight end and your fullback. And Bruce is going to help us on special teams.
What did you sort of see out of those guys, especially in the new offense and everything, a rookie and Tyler Davis?
Yeah, so Tyler Eifert, obviously, he's a veteran. He's a pro. He's a former Pro Bowler, but really savvy route runner, catches the ball excellent. He's a good blocker. James is the guy that's been really surprising, not because he's playing well, but because he's coming off the ACL. And he's done such a tremendous job rehab and has not had any setbacks and looks really good out there. So James is a good blocker. He's also a good pass catcher and good route runner. And then Tyler's a little bit of both. Tyler's still learning to run some routes, but he's a good blocker. He's a big guy. He's competitive. So we feel good about, probably more so than in years past about that group as a whole than what we've had in the last, really since we've lost Mercedes. Mark Sky.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Demetrius. For these last 2 questions, we're going to go.
You didn't lose him.
True.
You didn't lose him.
That's fair. That is fair. That's fair.
And it wasn't you, but still.
That was us.
Not your press conference, Mark. Let's go to D-Rock, and then we'll finish up with Gene.
What's up, D-Rock? Again?
Hey, how are you again? How confident are you in the COVID protocols, keeping guys healthy and keeping guys from getting sick after what you've seen through camp? I mean, now guys are going to be going home, all through the week. They've got game week stuff to deal with and families, maybe more so than before.
Sure. Well, guys have been going home through the week, all camp too. So,
well, that's true.
But yeah, so I trust our guys. I trust the guys that we kept on the team to do the right thing. We're striving we are striving for perfection with the COVID stuff. Everybody here. I got to give a ton of credit to everybody involved. Our medical staff, our training staff. Our ops team and definitely our players and our coaches who are taking this very seriously and, wearing their masks, doing the social distancing, and then obviously doing the testing on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Thanks, D-Rock. Shipley, are you all good? I know you had some internet issues and we're following along via Gene Fournette's Twitter account, which can always be a challenge.
Yeah, no, I am good. Sorry about that again,
Okay.
you guys.
All good. Thanks, John. Let's finish up with the legend, Gene. And you're on mute.
Dave, Doug has often said that a day like this is one of his worst days as a coach because he himself was cut 6 times and he has a lot of empathy for the guys who are cut. As a GM, are you able to stay a little bit more detached in that regard, or does it kind of sting you a little bit too, a day like this? And as a follow-up, have you ever given the news to a player that he was cut?
All right, good question. So are you asking me if I'm more heartless than Doug?
Okay, if you want to put it that way.
No, it does. It does sting me, and it is challenging. You have so much respect for these guys and how much work they put in there, and to have them tell you that they're not part of the 53. This year, Doug and I did them together. And so we talked to each player individually together. And so the second part of your question, yes, I have. And in years past, I've done it. And we've Doug and I, this is the first year we've done them together. So, but yeah, so much respect for the players and what they go through. And it's a challenging thing to do. And I always try to preface it, it's a lot harder on them than it is probably for me, but you do feel bad for them. And then some of the guys you feel good for that you'd say, hey, we're going to release you, but we want you back and continue to develop you. We want to continue to work with you, put you on the practice squad, especially some of the young guys and now some of the veterans we can do that with. So it's not the end of the road for all of them. And eventually this is going to be 1 year where we're going to need all 69 players and all 69 guys and the 16 guys on the practice squad, the 53 active. If any year we're going to have the best practice squad, it's this year, and everybody's going to have to be ready to play.
Okay, just so it's clear, so you and Doug divvied up which one of you would tell which players?
Nope, we brought him in, and Doug was in the office. I was in the office, and we brought the player in, and we both talked to him. Obviously, with social distancing protocol in place.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Gene. Appreciate you guys taking the time today. We'll be back on Monday at 1 p.m. with Coach Marone's press conference. We should have the media schedule going out at some point tomorrow, as well as any updates on waivers or practice squad. So let us know if you have any questions. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Dave.
Dave.